It's time for the monthly Q&A, and I've got a lot of good questions. Let's get to it. My name's Jimmy. I'm drinking some Iron Horse Roasters coffee, and this is Coffee and Trains. If you want to tell me what kind of coffee you are drinking, just like Iron Horse Roasters, not sponsored, just really like it, you can put that in the comments below, and who knows, you might see your name pop up on an episode of Coffee and Trains. Also, this is the monthly Q&A. If you want to have your question answered on the Q&A, I'll tell you how to do that at the end of this video. Cheers. 88BitCube50 actually has two questions. He wants to know where he can find blueprints of any locomotives, any websites like that, and I have actually had a really tough time answering this question because I didn't know of any offhand, so I went and did a little bit of research, and then I began to realize why companies have people that are dedicated to this specific thing, the model railroad companies, because yeah, this is something that's pretty hard to find. Some of the things that popped up were the Smithsonian, a lot of libraries, specifically collegiate libraries that have these kind of archives, not your regular go to the city library. These big college libraries, they have a lot of archives like this. I found a lot of Baldwin stuff. I couldn't find much else, but that's going to be the way to find it. You'll probably actually have a better chance finding some newer blueprints and things like that. But the Baldwin one, I was able to find, I think, a consolidation, and I found some markings for measurements. So, but that's one way to look. And then you also ask, what's the best way to print out maps on railways like branch lines and others if you want to find a map of a railroad from the 1950s in California. Well, the good thing about California is I think it has a bit better record-keeping history and it's a bit more active societies for this kind of thing. But again, libraries are going to be your best bet, specifically those libraries that have historical archives. So be on the lookout for libraries that have special collections and libraries that are for colleges and things like that, where more research is done towards those things versus your average city library. Prince of Toast 6175 asks, what are some considerations that I keep in mind when I'm planning a first layout in terms of track? Well, the biggest thing, this is the single biggest thing that I would say, is plan for the ability to expand easily. Now, what I mean by that is you can just have a track that goes off and connects to the edge of whatever your surface is, or you can have it to where it is modular and it's easy to expand. But when you're planning your first layout, it's not going to be your last. And if you don't want to start from scratch over and over again, plan for expansion and conversion, because you're going to figure out things as you go through different things like this, where you're going to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and things that you want to do. And that's going to change as you go through your model railroad journey. So just make your first layout flexible and potentially expandable. That is my single best thing. Either have that track connect to the end where you can put more track on it, or maybe have an easier place to where you can split it apart and change it out and things like that. You also asked if I had a P.O. box where we can send you coffee. Well, if you want to send me coffee, you can email me at the email in the description below. I'll put it right here as well. And I can send you an address for that. Also, I think I should start one of those buy me a coffee things, because this is Coffee and Trains, and that makes sense. I've had a couple of you ask for that. If you want me to start the buy me a coffee thing, I'll do it. But yeah, if you want to send me some coffee to try, email me and I can get you an address to ship it to. Three Spikes Railroads ask, is there anyone who works on in-scale trains, specifically locomotives? So I don't know of anyone specifically. What I would do is start Googling model railroad shops. I would actually maybe reach out to some of the bigger ones like Train World, Midwest Model Railroad, Lombard, places like this. They may not have a repair service, but they will know where to send stuff. So that may be something to ask. And the other thing is, if the company is still around, reach out to them directly. They may take a little bit of time to get back to you because most of these operations are very small, but they may have some recommended places to send if they won't take it themselves. Robert Lucido 3686 asks if I like the idea of using cabooses instead of end of train devices in operations. You know what? I kind of do. And I think that's because I'm an N-scale, and a Fred, a flashing rear end device, is a bit harder to install it is than HO scale. But I also I like cabooses. I think they're really, really cool. I have a couple of Rapido ones on order that are going to be lit and everything. And I distinctly remember one time seeing a caboose being used as a switching platform for Norfolk Southern on a line near where I live. So it's totally prototypical to be using cabooses in a totally modern railroad. I have seen it happen. Actually, I've seen it twice now. Dave Smith asks, how many and what Klondike modules do I have on my layout? Well, I'm gonna have to count here. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 13 in the completed section. And then you add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 20 Klondike's modules in mine. I have one that's from our RS laser kits. I think that's this one right here that's on the other side of this. And I have 2 end caps, 2 T-junctions, 2 curve corners, a double. There's 2 doubles over there, but one of them's not Klondike's. 2 doubles. There's a single and a triple right here. There's a triple right there. There's 2 singles right here. One of them is a drop bridge module. There's a double right here, and then there's another triple and a single over there. And then I've got a double bridge, triple deep drop. This is a lowered section that you can put foam in. And then I have an inside curve, 2 singles with backs on them, and then a double with the drop for the 1-inch foam. So I think that's all of them. So yeah, I think I have about 21 modules, something like that. Policy 1964 brought out something very important that I talked about last time with the Proto Throttle and DCCEX. You need a special card interface that Iowa Scaled Engineering uses with the Proto Throttle, since it doesn't natively use Wi-Fi protocol. So you cannot just get a Proto Throttle and hook it straight up. You need that little interface right there. And I think it's because it uses a slightly different Wi-Fi protocol, the Proto Throttle does. So it just needs that one little card. I think the card's about $100. So that adds another $100 to the Proto Throttle. But yeah, that's what you need. Durbinator94 asks, do I partake in any operating sessions, or do you plan on hosting any in layout in your future? Well, I don't really have actually, I know the layout feels big, but it's really not that big. And it's really, I could theoretically get 4 people operating on this, maybe 6 when I get this, but really about 2 people can run this entire railroad. So it's not a big operations railroad in terms of multiple people. My next layout, whenever I build it, is going to be that. That is my plan. So, but yeah, this is not really a huge operating session, and I haven't been to an op session around here. I just got an invite for one, and I got to figure out if I can do it. The thing also is that I have 2 young kids right now, and it's kind of hard to get out to anything right now beyond all my commitments there. That's probably the hardest thing right now. Spot68 asks if I ever 3D printed my logo and have the STL file. Well, I do not have that. I've thought about making it, but honestly, I just haven't had the time to do that. I'm in a really busy season of life right now, and it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I have not designed a 3D STL of my logo. Rosetta Railroad asks, is there an open source version of the Proto Throttle? We got some Proto Throttle questions today. So there is not, I think, a open source specific version. I think someone's kind of made it that way, but what you can look at is for DCCEX, there are wireless throttles that you can build, and people have created that. The best way to do that is to go look on the DCCEX website. They've got a pretty good outline of what to build. You kind of got to know your way around some circuitry a little bit and some ESP32 stuff, but overall, yes, they do have open source throttles. I do not think they have one that's specific to what a Proto Throttle does, because a Proto Throttle really works as a small control stand that's like basically you're running a locomotive. It has the controls like a locomotive, the notching, the whistles, the brakes, all that kind of stuff. That's how it runs it. So that's the real special thing about a Proto Throttle. It's not just a fancy piece of tech with a knob. It runs it like it's a locomotive. You're going to be notching up to accelerate. You're going to be turning off the acceleration but still coasting and then applying the brake. So that's what really makes a Proto Throttle special. But if you're looking for open source controllers, check out DCCEX. Conrail Model Railroad 89 says they have an MRC Prodigy DCC system and they plan to use it for this layout. How do you feel about this compares to the DCC system you use? The MRC Prodigy system has been around a long time. It is a really great system. MRC has been around in model railroading a long time. I don't think you'll have a problem with that. There's a lot of modelers out there that use the MRC Prodigy system. It still has good support. The company is still around and it is making new products. So you'll be able to integrate it into JMRI as long as you get the adapter. Yeah, it works great. It's different than what DCC-EX is set up to do. DCC-EX is really kind of a choose your own adventure of how you want to set it up. But the MRC Prodigy system is a solid system. Train Glenn 22 asks, what is a good inexpensive DCC decoder for HO scale? Now, before I say any of this, I know that people have their preferences for decoders. I have my preferences for decoders, specifically for like sound decoders and things like that. But if we're talking about inexpensive decoders, we're going to go non-sound with this. And I would honestly say that Digitrax is the way to go. Now, you also have options like from TCS and NCE, but a lot of the inexpensive decoders, which are right around, I would say around the $30 to $35 price point, are going to be Digitrax, ESU, NCE. Soundtrax makes some, they're called, I think they're called, they're mobile decoders is what they're called. TCS and NCE, all of these make really good decoders. I have not had the problems that some people will claim they've had for decoders and things like that with non-sound decoders. Sound decoders is a completely different thing because there's a lot of customization in there. But non-sound, if you have a simple locomotive and you're looking for something inexpensive, I would go Digitrax. Companies like ESU Soundtrax are going to give you more options. TCS is going to give you more options, but Digitrax is very simple and they'll do you just fine. William Sabanko asks, where does he send pictures of their railroad in for the virtual model railroad show? Well, I have an email in the description below and you can send them there. Again, I only ask that you take a picture of either your whole railroad or a big section of your railroad, depending on the size. And you also turn your phone sideways so that it's landscape for when you record anything, if you're going to record video or take photos for that matter. Redhead3199 asks, other than G scale, what would be a good scale to use for a garden railway? So this is a bit tough. So if I was like forced to do another scale in a garden railroad, I would do O scale. I really would not go below O scale. And the reason that I wouldn't go below O scale is because you're really getting into where the products aren't made to be outdoors. O scale stuff really isn't meant to be outdoors. The thing with G scale is that the track a lot of times is brass, and brass is going to hold up just fine. All it takes is usually a little bit of cleaning and you are good to go. So, but O scale, I have seen 3-rail O scale setups. There is O scale track that you can get that you can use, that you can do battery power on. But yeah, O scale is the only other one I have seen out in a garden railroad. I think I've seen maybe one HO scale setup that was kind of done temporarily, but O scale is really the only other one. And really, it's not necessarily because of size. It is going to be really the materials that can handle it. When you look at G scale specifically, we're talking like LGB and Pico track. That track is designed to be outside. The plastics are designed to handle the elements well. The brass does well. The brass is solid brass rails. Those things are really chunky. And even engines sometimes you can leave out. I have left out an LGB engine in a storm and it was fine. So that's an older one, by the way. But yeah, you can run O scale. I have seen O scale out. The one thing that I would say is to elevate the track. Don't have it on the ground. So put it like on like either a wood or something. The one that I see the most is this one guy who runs it along his fence. But yeah, that's the one thing I would say is that O scale is probably going to be the only other one you can do outside. Brutus44269 says that they're going to build a 12x14 layout with NCE power. And do they need voltage boosters for even power everywhere? So no, you don't need a voltage booster. A lot of times you're only seeing voltage boosters inside larger scale engines. What you're really talking about is amps. So amps are the really important thing, the variable of these. And the typical HO scale modern locomotive is looking at about 0.3 to 0.8 amps. That may vary a little bit, go a little bit higher or lower depending on sound and other things like that. In scale, it's a little bit lower, but pretty close to the same. So what you really have to consider is that it's how many engines you're running on your track versus how large the layout is. So first of all, get your bus system for your wiring and everything hooked up evenly all over the place, and you should be fine. But what you're really doing is boosting up to, let's say you have a 2 amp system that you want to boost up to a 5 amp system. You're just basically giving it more power to work with, so that more engines can pull from that power. So that's really what you're looking at. It's really not necessarily a size issue, it's how many locomotives you have on the track at the same time. Because let's say I did this section over here, which is like a 6 foot by 2.5 foot section, and I put 20 locomotives on there and tried to run them all at the same time. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to have enough power, and it really doesn't matter about the size. So yeah, that's a good question, and it really just depends on what you're running. I'm always in favor of like doing around 5 amps for a system. That's usually a good system. A lot of people, if you're doing something smaller, won't need more than 2 or 3 amps. KKMB for you ask if I've ever looked into Indian railways and what are my thoughts. So first of all, I think that the Indian model railroad community is one of the big growing ones. It was cited as a growth market. In that report that I did a video on a while back. I'll link that at the end. And there's a lot of cool things going on there. It's a little bit different for those of you that don't know. So there's a lot of 3D printing going on in the Indian model railroad market, and they're using motor bogies basically. These are things you can get from Japan. They're made by like Tomix and things like that, and you can basically make those and put pretty much anything on there. But I think it's really, really cool. I think the only thing I've seen out there right now is HO scale. I've seen some N-scalers from India, but a lot of them are running either North American or European power. But I think it's a really cool growing market, and I really like it. I really like the fact that a lot of people are just taking it on themselves to kind of like build their own things, and it's kind of like this half DIY, half cottage industry thing, and I'm really enjoying it when a model railroad in India pops up on my feed and I'm able to take a look at it, because it's cool. You know that a lot of work went into it, and it's just something really cool, and I'm really enjoying watching the Indian model railroad community grow. Okay, if you want to get your question answered in next month's Q&A, here's how you do it. Just put it in the comments below. Try to get it in the first week. That's about what the time I'll start collecting them and getting them answered. So again, yep, just put them in the comments below and I will do my best to get them. I try to take the first 10 or 15 that pop up. So get them in quick, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.